welcome to another episode of TawkCrypto Podcast. And it's your host, Ayofari. And today we have an amazing and incredible guest with us.
My name is Paul Emmanuel, and I'm the community lead at StarkNet Africa. Over time, we have funded a lot of African projects. If you are this person that are actually looking to get on StarkNet, you can easily apply for the seed grant. The seed grant gives you up to $75,000 to build on StarkNet.
All right. Welcome to another episode of TawkCrypto Podcast. And it's your host, Ayofari. And today we have an amazing and incredible guest with us who is actually the community manager at StarkNet Africa. And we're going to be discussing everything StarkNet. We're going to be discussing, pretty much everything about layer 2, about Ethereum layer 2, and about how StarkNet is actually positioning itself in Africa to become, I think, the blockchain of the African continent. So I think we can pretty much get into it right now. And we're going to start with an introduction, get to know our amazing guest. Paul, can you just pretty much introduce yourself, basically?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ayo, for the invite, and I'm happy to be here. So my name is Paul Emmanuel, and I'm the community lead at StarkNet Africa. So a bit background about myself. I've been in crypto since 2017, but of course it's not been all rosy and all. So when I got to know about StarkNet was in 2022, but before then I knew about StarkX. So StarkX is a permission blockchain. So the StarkNet team figured, okay, they need to build a permissionless blockchain where anybody can come and build any stuff. So there won't be any need to ask for permission if you want to do a specific task on the chain. So at the time there was the YDX. I don't know. Have you heard of the YDX before?
Yeah, absolutely. What about the YDX?
Yeah. So then there was the YDX on StarkX. I was following that, and I was also following Immutable X. So I was quite intrigued by what a rollup was, and I continued following StarkX till the StarkNet didn't launch StarkNet in 2021. I think so. Yeah. So as of 2022 May, I kind of thought about, so where I got my inspiration from was FTX Africa at the time when they were existing. So I like the idea, and also like the idea of Binance Africa. So I felt, okay, we can actually do this stuff for StarkNet as well. So at the time I was speaking with Louis, he gave me an answer. Okay, they actually want to have regional communities in different places. So I started by doing StarkNet Nigeria, but over time I figured, okay, we can actually spread ahead and do this across Africa, right? So that's how we basically started. And over time we have done a lot of stuff, a lot of meetups. Even we did a StarkNet conference in Lagos last year, and we also plan to do a lot more this year. So that's basically, and the community has been amazing. I mean, we have a lot of Cairo developers in Nigeria. We have a few in Ghana. We have a few in Kenya. A lot of developers as well. So this is and it's not easy to actually come to a new chain, a new language, and also it has taken us time to learn. And this year, a lot of developers are building solutions that would help grow long term. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I pretty much agree with you, because when you're talking about StarkNet and how you're talking about some events that you've done in Africa and in Nigeria, I know that you hosted some bootcamp even about maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I got a notification. I was supposed to attend, but for some reasons I was not actually in town at the point. So yeah, just to make sure that everybody listening have a grasp of what StarkNet is specifically. So if you can just pretty much, give us a layman understanding of what StarkNet is, what is being done, what is being built at StarkNet, and how StarkNet pretty much compares to other layer 2 technologies. We have other ZK technologies out there, ZK Sync and other technologies. But if you can just briefly tell us in layman terms about what StarkNet is, what StarkNet is doing, and how it compares to other L2s out there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first of all, I get to describe StarkNet, I always get to examine to know, okay, what is the level of knowledge of the audience, right? So basically, to break it down, first off, you have to understand the blockchain trilemma. whereby it says that decentralization, security, and scalability like all can't coexist in a specific blockchain. So in the term of Bitcoin, it's centralized, it's secured, but it scales, but not like to the extent that we actually like want. For global scale, right? Then for Ethereum, the same issue. I mean, it's decentralized, it's secured, but to scale, if you remember, let's say in 2021, 2022, or let's say 2020, when maybe if you want to interact on Ethereum, you have to spend like a lot of gas fees. I mean, at the time we used to swap for $50, $20 as the case may be, because I mean, you have to be a degen, right? So, the Ethereum community like figured, okay, how can we actually solve this? So they brought up the idea of like having another layer on top of Ethereum. So basically the layer 2 will be execution layer, then layer 1 will be, settlement layer, right? So, which is of course like why StarkNet exists. So StarkNet exists to scale Ethereum. But then on the case, okay, reason why all this happened is because, okay, I mean, on Ethereum, I mean, you kind of like have, let's say you have a new state and you want to like send this to, let's say this new state is about to send out to the validators, right? On Ethereum, the validators have to like verify this like all over again, like one by one, right? So, but in case of StarkNet, what actually happens is every new state you send to the validators, or as the case may be, will have, a proof. So instead of the validator like verifying this like all over again, spend a lot of computational power just like Ethereum does, what actually happens is each proof, each state has a proof, so you don't have to verify over again. So which is actually basically where the whole validity proof something comes in, which is different from like what optimistic rollup do, or which is optimism base and a whole lot of them, right? So it kind of like boils down to, okay, StarkNet spends like less computational power to actually like process way more transaction. And it actually does this by bundling this transaction on, then executing the transaction, then sending it down to the settlement layer, which is Ethereum. So it's quite like intriguing. So when you think about it, I mean, StarkNet has a lot of features. I mean, talking about, let's say, native account abstraction. I mean, the fact that it's native means, okay, it just inbuilt into StarkNet. So you get things like session keys whereby you don't have to always approve transaction. Like whenever you're playing a game, let's say a few years ago on Ethereum, if you want to hit someone in a game, you have to approve. If you want to hit, you have to approve. If you want to like move, you have to approve. Yeah, but right now on StarkNet, you just sign in. And basically right now you can use cartridge controller to just sign in. You don't even need a wallet to even start off and all. Then there's Paymaster, whereby Starkware, maybe anyone can actually pay for your gas fee, just play your game and a whole lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of things that the StarkNet like offers under the hood, right? So which actually like makes it like quite attractive for developers that actually like come along, right? So over time, I mean, this whole growth would of course reflect. So if anyone like asks me, okay, why StarkNet? I mean, what is StarkNet? This is basically like the explanation I would give, so you actually understand why it actually started at its first place and why you should actually port to StarkNet if you are a user developer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I pretty much very agree with you right there. I think StarkNet technology is very paramount to Africa, where we're talking about Africa, in peculiar, you know. You can understand that, what StarkNet does, the major thing, the result of StarkNet technology is majorly when it, scalability and of course low fees, right? And that aspect of low fees is very paramount in Africa because, in terms of, economies in Africa, they know a lot of, capital to actually pay for, high gas fees if all transactions are being done on Ethereum. So now, are there any projects currently in Africa at this point in time that are actually building on StarkNet and are actually, scaling through StarkNet?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there are a bunch of them, but just like I said at the beginning, I mean, for a lot of developers in Africa, we had like some, let me say, learning stage. Even a lot of developers like worldwide, we had like learning stage. And last year we had one major project like are still live on StarkNet, which is one ramp. So, right now on one ramp, you can actually like, sending but just like the way you do normal P2P with, Bybit and all, you can send in your USDC there and get naira in return. And all this like happens like in few minutes, right? So they're also like live in Ghana. They're also live in, Uganda, right? So these are the solutions, of course, we want to see. I want to like see more of this. Then there's also like builders from Blockheader that are building some solid games. I think one of them is Octaflip. And there's, Horus Lab, which is building, which has built some cool, dApps like, StarkNet Scaffold. Then they are currently building colonies, which will be live in few weeks. And, they are building, a few other stuff, right? So they are solid builders. But of course, let's say, like I said, I mean, when a chain is still new, not entirely new though, but I mean, you have to learn the code. We have to learn the programming language from the start. I mean, everyone like needs time to learn this thing. So I mean, it's not magic or as the case may be. So I believe that over time, and just like, I think that was last month, Starkway announced a 4 million, fund for African settlement building. So when all this comes together, like over time, when the process of actually how that will work comes together, and a lot of builders will, of course, like come to StarkNet to build ideas that maybe they have another chain and they have like some issues that they can't actually do on other chain, but StarkNet actually offers some, features that you can actually do that easily. So, I've mentioned a few, projects, and also there is StarkTrade by Kaswini. I mean, he's building a trading bot, and also you don't have to always log out to look for a wallet to trade. You can all do that on Telegram and all. So there's a few projects, but like I said, all this takes time to like gain traction. But I believe that over time, for the year ends, I mean, in combination with the whole 4 million fund for Africans, I mean, it's going to like go a very long way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you totally on that. When we're talking about StarkNet's efforts in Africa, is actually very visible. Just like you talked about the 4 million grants and other things that is being done. And just like you mentioned, education is actually probably the major factor that is going to, get most African developers into StarkNet, especially considering the fact that the programming language that StarkNet use is a little bit different from other blockchains out there. I think StarkNet operates on Cairo.
Very.
Yeah. And then, when we compare that with other language that, other blockchain use, like, Ethereum, which uses, Solidity, Squarely, and then we have Ethereum, which uses the Rust language. So are there anything, to be able to get people to actually learn and also build on StarkNet? Are there like resources? I understand that when you talk about how there are boot camps that have been done in certain countries. So are there any specific resources or directories where, if me as the developer, if for example I'm a developer and I want to actually get to build something on the StarkNet, right? How can I get there? Are there resources? Are there places I can go to learn boot camps and what have you?
Yeah. So basically, every now and then the StarkNet Foundation holds a learning program called Basecamp, right? So, Basecamp is most times 5 weeks or 6 weeks or 4 weeks program, where any developer can come on and learn about Cairo, right? So, I mean, these programs are there. Then as well as StarkNet Africa, we also like host what we call Cairo Bootcamp, where we kind of like focus on educating Africans specifically, but for the foundation, they educate like people worldwide, right? So there's also, Cairo Bootcamp by, Blockheader. I mean, a lot of, companies actually host this Cairo Bootcamp, right? So reason for this is, like I said, it takes time to learn the new language, right? So, and we are setting the standard, we're setting the foundation for a lot of people to actually learn this stuff then to build over time. So, you can talk about, Stacklinks. I mean, Stacklinks would actually allow you to learn this thing like step by step. Then over time, maybe if you are someone that have learned some, you can experiment your ability or what you can actually do on only Dust. But platforms like Stacklinks, Node Guidance, the boot camps that are held by the African communities like Blockheader, GIDA, StarkNet Africa, then the base camp that is being done by the foundation is basically everywhere. And they have one coming up like in a few days or a few weeks, right? So you can actually register for that. And for at StarkNet Africa, we're also planning to host one in May. Yeah. But I mean, the data is not out yet, but we are trying to fix up something solid that anyone that is actually like in Web2 can easily come over to StarkNet to build. And yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of resources out there you can actually learn, and you can check out the StarkNet documentation. You can check out the Kaya documentation as well. Everything is there. So basically, it's all interesting. And of course, if you need a community to join, you can easily join the StarkNet Africa community on Telegram. You can join us on Twitter. You can easily ask anyone question and you'll get assistance. So, I mean, our community is all about like helping everybody climb the ladder because, I mean, of course, we need everybody and we always here to help.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, community is very, very key in crypto, right? Community is probably one of the major things that you look at to measure the success of brands in Web3. So, but you know, when we're talking about blockchains generally, you know, we have the three major or the biggest blockchains that we have right now: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, right? And you know, those three blockchains have also, to a very large extent, um, seen great usage in Africa. We've seen great usage when we look at on-chain numbers on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, and especially on Solana. But you know, StarkNet is still not mainstream per se in Africa when it comes to a blockchain usage, right? So, you know, what are the challenges that you think that StarkNet is facing that is actually, you know, hindering this mainstream adoption of StarkNet at this time? And, you know, how do you think that is going to be tackled? You know, is it infrastructure problems like, you know, maybe power supply in the continent or the internet usage in the continent, or is it education? But what are the challenges that you think StarkNet is facing to actually go mainstream and become the chain, that, the African blockchain?
Okay. So, at first, StarkNet like had this, issue of it being reliable to use. I mean, this was like 1 year ago, 2 years ago, as the case may be, right? But over time, it became very stable and very cheap. StarkNet is actually like the cheapest blockchains, which is number one priority as an African to use a blockchain, right? Then you talk about, okay, the speed it takes to actually like send out from here to here. StarkNet is as well there. Then you now talk about a whole lot of other factors, right? But to me, I feel the major challenge we have actually like had is I mean, what I've actually said already is the whole education, like educating people actually, okay, this is why StarkNet is superior and this is why you should actually use or build on StarkNet, right? That which is number one. Then number two is, I mean, over time, StarkNet have actually like have funded a lot of African projects, but of course, it's never enough. I mean, we need more of it because, I mean, someone might come up with an idea to build and it maybe they don't actually like get to build it to a successful state. And there might be someone out there that have more superior idea that can actually like boost this, adoption of StarkNet Africa. But, I mean, maybe they might not have gotten the funding, but if you are this person that are actually like looking to get on StarkNet, you can easily apply for the seed grants. And, I mean, the seed grant like gives you, up to $25,000 to build on StarkNet, right? But of course, your idea has to be very, very solid, right? I mean, people like, One Ram, and if you had have actually gotten this grant, right? So, I mean, there's a whole lot we can basically do, right? But first off, we have to focus on actually educating people. Okay, this is why StarkNet is superior. I know you mentioned Bitcoins, Ethereum, Solana, and all, but then all these other projects, or maybe Bitcoin, I mean, Ethereum, they all have like few years way ahead of StarkNet, right? So it takes time. I mean, Rome was not built in a day, right? It takes time to actually like gain adoption. It took Solana time to even get up there, and it took Ethereum time to even like become the second highest crypto coin, as the case may be, right? It just took Bitcoin time to actually like become known, right? So I feel, I mean, for StarkNet as a project that thinks long term, it might take time, but then over time, people will understand like how superior StarkNet is, and as well the fact that they are bridging Bitcoin to Ethereum with to StarkNet to also like let people know that okay, they can actually like well, this is not like all detailed arts yet. They have a blog coming up like pretty soon. People also know okay, we can actually like do all these things like on StarkNet. So there's a lot of potential. But of course, we have to get the first thing right, which is educating people on why StarkNet is superior. Then over time, when you maybe have a solution or maybe a reason to build on StarkNet, you can easily come and build because okay, you already know how okay, these are the issues and this is actually how StarkNet is superior over other chains you want to build on. So yeah.
I think that's pretty much very apt. But when we're talking about that, I think we can talk a little bit about regulations, especially in Africa, right? So we've seen that regulations can either be a friend or a foe, right? And especially certain countries, especially when it comes to crypto, right? Crypto generally around the globe, not only in Africa. Regulations has been something that most people have been clamoring on, with clear regulations, because that is actually one of the things that can actually help and be a great factor when it comes to adoption. So, but what will you actually see in terms of regulations and African government specifically when it comes to regulations, and how do you think that can be able to help innovations in Africa, sort of innovations that you can do, and is StarkNet actually in conversation with certain regulatory bodies in Africa, maybe in South Africa, in Nigeria, and other jurisdictions in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, about regulation, like, it's always a difficult topic for me to discussion because, I mean, our government can be quite, this and that, right? But then for something specifically, before you start talking about regulation, you have to talk about, okay, which particular product, because let's say now, you're building something on Ethereum. You can say, okay, Ethereum has to come and tackle, the regulation in Africa for Nigerians, or as the case may be, or let's maybe if you have a specific payment product that you want to bring to Nigeria, that's even when you start thinking about, okay, these are the challenges I'll face based on the regulations and a whole lot of other this and well, I for sure believe that when these projects come, they'll kind of okay, see, okay, this is actually how the regulation is in Nigeria, and this is how we're going to tackle them. But making a reference, okay, StarkNets have to maybe, I don't really know how to answer that, but I do know that when these projects like come along, I mean, come along on StarkNet and okay, they have solutions that require them to go through these regulation hurdles and all. I mean, there'll be a way, of course. I mean, I mean, we have seen, projects like, on board, I think on board, yeah, on board and, a lot of them go through all those challenges and I mean they overcome them, right? So it's basically okay if a project like comes on StarkNet and they have these challenges. I mean, it's of course there to face, but of course before you actually build a project, you have to scan through to see these are the regulations that I have to comply with. These are things, and I mean regulations can be bad and they can be good sometimes. So let's say if some things are not regulated, it is going to some bad actors are going to use it to their advantage, right? And if it's too regulated, then it might cripple the whole system, right? So of course we always need a balance, right? But like I said, it all depends on a specific project that actually comes and starting to build. That's basically when they have to explore all these regulations. And also, I don't really think it's tied on the StarkNet saying just okay, they have to solve the whole regulation problem, like in Nigeria, or as the case may be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think definitely not a single project that can actually solve provide regulatory clarity, but it's just something that the whole community has to, or the whole industry have to come together and try to find a way forward on, and also to to work closely and more friendly with regulators out there. But let's talk a little bit about just regular people out there, regular Africans out there, regular African developers out there, and
Mhm.
some developers that just want to actually build, they don't know, they are very, very clueless. They probably don't even know why they should or if they should build on StarkNet. And even if they know, they probably are clueless on where to start. So I want you to at least pick an African developer out there that is actually clueless about where to start, and maybe you can speak to them on how to start and how to actually get on board with StarkNet.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you're a developer out there and you're looking to get started on StarkNet, the first thing to do is to actually understand, okay, you have to understand, the language, the programming language on StarkNet, which is Cairo, right? You have to understand, and how you can actually go about this is by registering to our bootcamp or maybe StarkNet Foundations Basecamp to understand. Then if you need mentors or if you need someone to put you through, you can basically join our community on Telegram, ask your questions, and of course someone out there will answer you, and all. Then if you are looking for why you should actually come to StarkNet, I mean, we have seen how StarkNet has been supportive like of African builders that want to build on StarkNet like over the years, and they have actually shown this this by announcing the 4 million fund. But of course the process is like it's not announced out there, right? But of course it will be communicated soon. Yeah. So when you look at all this and say, okay, this guy is actually like looking out for Africans. I mean, that's one major reason to join the Standard African community. Then other reasons is that, okay, you can easily reach out to builders that are among the community, ask them questions. Okay, how have you been doing this? Because I mean, before joining a specific community, you have to like look at, okay, how supportive are these guys? So apart from the foundation or the StarkNet team, you don't talk about, okay, the people within the community, are they actually quite supportive if I want to spin up some ideas? And I mean, the community is quite supportive. So this is something to look at for as a builder. Then that the other reason is the seed grants. I mean, I had to mention every other reason, then get into the money aspect. I mean, the seed grants is like, it's amazing, but like I always say, if you actually want to easily get these grants, it's like in a lot of ecosystem. You have to have concrete ideas. You have to have idea with good proof of concept. You have to have ideas that then if you already have an MVP, is a plus for you because okay, you already have something working and you can easily apply and bring your product to life and show how you can actually get it, because every project out there actually need more users, right? So it's sure how your product can actually like bring in more users to StarkNet. So, but when you look at all this, like I mentioned, the 4 million funds, the seed grants, the supportive community, then the whole interest, the foundation, the StarkNet team has shown towards African builders. I mean, that's enough reason to come build on StarkNet, right? So if you want more reasons, I mean, I can give more. I mean, we do host like boot camps, actually like take time to educate people on how to onboard. And if, of course, you have further questions, you can like message me on Telegram. I mean, we can always source stuff out. But like I said, just like every ecosystem, if you want to gain maximum support, maybe when it comes to seed grants or any grant as the case may be, you need to have some solid ideas. I mean, because, I mean, we don't want a case whereby maybe they see as someone that just comes to farm the grants as the case may be, right? You know, all these things, right? So, yeah, so that's my message to any African builder that wants to come and build on StarkNet.
All right. Thank you so much. I think the last thing that we have here before we actually round it up is pretty much, what's next for StarkNet, right? What's next for StarkNet Africa? Are there any expansion plans? Are there any you talk about the grants that we have or that have been announced and some of the monetary opportunities that are out there. But are there any other updates, anything that you'd like to share in terms of expansion plans, that of maybe partnerships or maybe events that you have coming on? I know you have an event coming by May, but probably before then, you might have some events coming on that are more of, that people can actually join, maybe online or even offline.
Yeah. So, we have a lot planned for this year, right? So we kind of like also want to, replicate what we did last year with the whole conference, right? But of course, we might explore like doing it in another country. I mean, because the whole focus is not just like Nigeria, as the case may be. We try to make sure we get to get users from other countries in Africa. Like one major focus this is to expand to other countries like Algeria, Morocco, as the case may be, right? Because of course, I mean, we have gained some ground in Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, DR Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, but then we want to still like expand. I mean, because over time, maybe if I mean, some people might maybe want to explore something else, and of course, you need to bring in more users from a specific country or maybe from a specific region, right? So these are the things we plan to do. Then we actually explored the idea of doing in a hacker house in Africa, but I mean, this is not like finalized. I mean, there's no promises, right? But these are the ideas we are exploring, because I feel when people come together in a specific space to put up like their ideas, build together, I mean, it end up being something like exceptional, right? So these are the ideas we're exploring. Then we also plan to do more meetups. I mean, there has been a few, even there are a few like meetups by community partners like GIDA. And we also did one last 2 weeks, right, in Lagos. And we also plan to do more of this, because the idea has always been to bring together both users and builders and everyone, like to I mean, you know, there's this vibe that doing physical events actually like bring. I mean, gets to allow you to meet people that you might have not seen like for months, as the case may be. It brings around the connection, and if you want to set up any partnership, people you can basically do that, right? Then for online, I mean, we are working on, like you said, I mean, we have a bootcamp coming up in May. We will announce this like beginning of April. We'll announce it. Then yeah, I mean, there are a few other ideas we are exploring, and I mean, the point is to keep the fire burning. I mean, around Africa, to make sure, okay, we we keep on like we maintain our standards. I mean, and keep going basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much does a lot of justice to that. I agree with you in terms of what you're talking about the North Africa aspect. I think there needs to be a lot of work to be done in that region. I believe the region is actually, getting to accept crypto better. I think Morocco and some other countries over there, they've actually, banned crypto since about 2017 or about. But but pretty much, I think as we proceed, we can get a lot of clarity and adoption in this region. So thank you so much for actually, joining and sharing the thought about what is being done at StarkNet Africa, the amazing things that have been done. And yeah, I'm sure that the audience have been able to get one or two things and to be able to get to interact with StarkNet Africa. And then, yeah, pretty much thank you so much for actually joining us. And yeah, if you actually have any sort of questions, anything to learn, you can always join StarkNet Africa community. And then you can reach out to Paul directly. I'm sure you'll be able to answer your questions and get you on board into the StarkNet Africa community. And of course, if you found this episode valuable, help us spread the word, please. Like, follow, share this podcast on your network. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And of course, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, be sure to actually leave us a review. It actually helps other people to discover the podcast, and it helps us keep on bringing you this top tier crypto content. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.